Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and welcome to a special edition of Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I'm here today to talk to you about Everything Everywhere All at Once, the 2022 indie movie. I never knew that this was an indie movie. It was written and directed by the Daniels, and it was produced by the Russo brothers. Shocking that this is an indie movie of all things. And it stars one of my favorite actresses, Malaysian actress Michelle Yeoh. And I think her real name was Yo Chow King or Kine, something like that. I think it's King. Um and so like I've seen her in so many projects and stuff. I remember the first thing I ever saw her in was that James Bond movie. And then I've seen her in other things like Crouching Tiger. I've seen her in Star Trek Discovery. I can't think of something else. Crazy Rich Asians, and then American Born Chinese. Ironically, she played a Chinese deity in that movie, but she's not Chinese. In fact, everything I've ever seen her play in, she plays a Chinese person, but she's Malaysian. And a lot of people actually think she is Chinese because of that. And what's really interesting is that I never, ever, ever hear nobody call her out for that or complain or say, like, she shouldn't play Chinese characters, which is ironic because they get on to other celebrities for doing things like that. Like they get on to Catherine Zeta-Jones for playing Latino characters and she's white. They got on to Scarlett Johansson for playing an Asian character and about to play a trans character, but she didn't because of the backlash. And, and there's a bunch of other stars like Johnny Depp who played a Native American. There's one actress who played an Indian person, but like she's only like half or something like that. And it's just ironic that like nobody ever calls her out on that and stuff. Now she has said, and you know how I am. Like how I am. I always feel like people should play their own races. If they're white, play white. If they're black, play black. If they're Latino, play Latino. If they're Asian, play Asian. Depending on what kind there is and stuff. But it's just ironic nobody never called her out on that and stuff. And when it comes to this movie, originally, they were actually thinking at first, should they go with a white lead star? Or should they go with somebody else? I'm glad they went with diversity because this is a very diverse movie. There are tons of Asian people in there. There's one white, there's one Jewish, and there's one Indian actress. The Indian actress actually has a cameo. She's in like that Bollywood type movie and early on in the beginning of the movie. So it's like a really brief cameo. And then of course, Jenny Slate is the Jewish actress and Jamie Love Hewitt, not Jamie Love Hewitt. I'm thinking of Jennifer Love Hewitt, and Jennifer Love Hewitt's not even in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm getting my like three name people mixed up. I'm surprised I didn't say Sarah Michelle Gellar. And so like there was actually some controversy when it came to the Jenny Slate character. Her character was originally named Big Nose, but now they call her Debbie with the dog. And it was controversy because Jenny Slate is Jewish, and that is considered anti-Semitic because a lot of people make fun of Jewish people's noses and stuff. And I remember Jenny Slate from back in like SNL. Boy, I had a crush on her. And so like she says she's not offended because the directors and creators, they emailed her immediately and told her why they called her character that. They say in Asian Chinese culture, Calling a person a big nose is like calling is basically calling white people that. I guess I'm not Chinese. I don't know. I have no idea. This is the first time I've ever heard that. But if they say that's how their culture is, then hey, I'll just take that for them. But nevertheless, did they think she was white? I mean, she doesn't look white. I mean, kinda. When you look at her, you can tell she's Jewish. And so, you know me, I don't like slurs of any kind. I don't like anti-Semitic stuff. I don't like making fun of people's races and cultures and stuff. And I don't know, maybe the directors really thought she was white and was calling a white person that. But even if they were calling a white person that, I'm still not okay with that. Because it's like, I don't like stuff like that. I've never liked stuff like that. Like, I don't like black face, I don't like brown face, I don't like yellow face, and I don't like white face. So whether it was a joke or not, or an insult or not, clearly she looks Jewish, and that is very, very wrong to call her that. And like, it's the same thing to be like white chicks. That is technically white face and everything. And I do have a problem with that. That's one of the reasons why I won't watch that movie and stuff. Because I don't like watching stuff like that. But then I could have sworn that the Michelle Yeoh character also called the Indian actress Big Nose as well, because she has a rather large nose. And I remember seeing the subtitle at the bottom of the screen saying Big Nose when she looked at that Indian actress. And so I just assumed maybe just her character called. See, I always just assume when she sees a person with a big nose, she calls them out on it and stuff. But it's like, yeah, so I forget what the Indian actress name. I used to have a crush on her too. Sanita Manny, I think her name is. Very tall, very lovely actress. Doesn't appear in much stuff, but I really wish she would and stuff. But like, yeah, it's just, that's like the only controversy this movie has, thank God. Because it's a really fun movie and stuff. It's an A24 movie, and A24 rarely misses and everything. They're really good and they hit pretty hard and stuff. That's why a lot of people like their movies. The movie had about a budget of like I think it was like 14 to 25 million, and it made 143.4 million dollars and stuff. And this movie is a multiverse movie. I love multiverse stuff. I used to love the television show Sliders, and I still do. It dealt with the multiverse. It was a 90s show that used to air on Fox. Now, I'm actually new to this movie. I know it's been out since 2022, and it's 2025 right now. In fact, this movie was in production and thought up ever since 2010. That's how long they've been cooking this movie up, thinking about it and stuff. But I'm so late to the game because of the simple fact, like, whenever, like, I don't go to movie theaters no more because of my tinnitus. And then when this was on streaming, I didn't have the apps that this movie was on. And then when I did get the app that this movie was on, I held it off for a long time, and then they took it off. I'm like, crap. So they have it on Tubi right now, but it's about to end at the end of May, and in June it'll be gone. And so I'm like, I gotta watch this movie. And so, yeah, it's a really fun comedy, like action, sci-fi type movie about just a normal woman who's getting audited by the IRS, and then all of a sudden she goes through this multiverse like journey and everything. Originally, Jackie Chan was written in mind for this movie, but then the creators decided, hey, wouldn't it be more interesting to make the main character female? And so originally it was supposed to be Michelle Yeoh and Awkwafina, but Awkwafina had scheduling conflicts, and then they casted Stephanie Hush. I'm not sure how to say her last name. I recognize a lot of people in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis, who I've always liked. Um, let's see. What's his name? Kwai Hugh Kwan. Never seen him in nothing. Like I didn't watch The Goonies, but like I never seen him in nothing. But I did see him in American Born Chinese alongside Michelle Yeoh. That only lasted one season. It was on Disney Plus, and it came out about 2 years ago, and it ended on a cliffhanger. But like I recognize him. The only and then, oh, also, I think his name is Jamie. No, James Hong. I remember this dude. I see this dude in everything. He just pops up in everything. And he finally got his Walk of Fame. Good for him and everything. But everybody else I don't recognize. Like Stephanie, I don't recognize. The actress playing her girlfriend, I don't recognize. Um, so yeah. But I've liked Michelle Yeoh in every project I've ever seen her in, except for Star Trek Discovery. Now, in Star Trek Discovery, when she's playing normal JoJo, I like her. But when she's playing the evil Mirrorverse JoJo, I don't like her. Because they always have her saying like these mean, like smart mouth thing. And like, I don't know, the timing's just like never there. Like, I don't know. She's not good playing like a sassy, smart mouth like type person. I just don't feel it coming from her. But everything else I've ever seen her in, like she's just been awesome. Now, this movie isn't the first one to have an Asian lead in a multiverse story. I remember Jet Li's The One. I really liked that movie. I remember when this movie came out, a lot of people kept saying this was better than Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. And they said this is how the multiverse should be done. And I remember thinking, I wonder what they mean by this. So, of course, I had to wait until I found out. And then after a while, I kind of just forgot about this movie until I saw it on Tubi. And I watched it, and thank God I was able to watch it when I did, because the moment I stopped watching it and the movie was over, they had took it off their platform. So if I would have paused it and went someplace else and went to like a different app or a different channel or something, then try to go back, it would have been gone at like midnight and stuff. And yeah, I have to agree. As much as I love Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and defend that movie, I gotta give it up to this movie. This movie had the better like concept of the multiverse. This is really truly how you do the multiverse. Now this is different how they did it in Sliders. In Sliders, you just go from one parallel world to another by jumping through a portal, and you experience what that world is like. But it's more grounded and stuff. But yeah, like it was fun seeing how they kind of like bounce from like reality duplicate to reality duplicate and everything by these like devices and stuff, and how they're able to transfer their consciousness into the other and like learn from like the other like duplicate and everything. Sometimes you have to say a phrase, sometimes you have to touch something, and it was just really, really fascinating, but also disturbing at the same time. That whole butt thing. Oh my God. What in the world? I was not expecting this movie to go in certain directions that it did. But I do like that concept. And then, of course, if you have a stronger will, you can just bounce around just by like, moving your mind into whoever like duplicate body you want. My favorite reality is just the Rock universe. I just think that's hilarious. Talking about like just be a rock and everything, and like having to read the subtext and everything. But they really truly utilize like the concept of like the multiverse, and like the hot dog fingers and how you have to use your feet for stuff, and it's just so interesting. But one thing that was cool is the actress version of Evelyn, like, seeing Michelle Yeoh's, like, actual red carpet events and stuff. I wish they could have shown more to show what, like, how she's, like, looked over, like, the decades and stuff. And I remember like watching this movie, just wondering what's this movie gonna be about? Because I remember seeing a third eyeball on Michelle Yeoh's head, and just wondering what the heck is this movie just gonna be about? Like I had like really no idea. And so as I'm watching and everything, and you seen like Evelyn's like husband, like, from one universe, like bouncing around trying to teach her this and that, and talking about there's a threat coming and you have to stop her. The father is like, also like he's willing to sacrifice his life, his daughter's life, and the granddaughter's life. And you just wonder what the heck is going on. And then you find out nothing against Aquafina. All right, like nothing against her. But I'm glad that Stephanie landed this role because I don't know. I've only seen Aquafina in 1.5 projects, no, 2.5 projects, and it's just kind of like I just wouldn't be able to feel like her version if she would have done this in this movie. It's just I don't know. There's just something. I just feel like Stephanie was just the right choice. You know what I'm saying? And now I remember Stephanie. I've seen her in some stuff. I've seen her in Shang-Chi. I've seen her in American Born Chinese. So this is like the third star from that show. And holy crap, dude, I was not expecting this huge emotional roller coaster with Joy in, is it Jobu or something like that? I was not expecting that. I had no idea the like true meaning of this movie is a daughter's pain, two different versions and feeling pain for two completely different reasons and stuff. I could tell, like, just, watching the beginning, Evelyn's a hardworking mother and her marriage is crumbling. She just not realizing that. She's so stressed out. She's being audited. And here she has a daughter, and her daughter has a girlfriend, and she hasn't told the grandfather yet and everything. And when she has that moment to do that, she buckles under the pressure and just says, Joy's girlfriend is just her really good friend. Hurting Joy in the process, realizing her mom truly will never accept her and everything and accept her girlfriend into this family to interact with the rest of the family members and stuff, and feeling distance because of that and just wanting to like leave and so she can live her life how she wants to without having to feel this weight and pressure on her of not being accepted. I was not expecting that at all. Then when it comes to Jobo, that was a little bit more like harder for me to figure out at first, because we was told that she's looking to destroy like all the Evelyns and stuff, and she created this black hole which she calls the bagel. Just reminds me of Into the Spider-Verse and everything. She's more of a rebel and everything. She dresses very different. And, it's just kind of like, hey, what is her angle in all of this? And, she's sending all these like assassins to like, kill her mom and everything. And then we find out that her mom pushed her to the limit and made her experience everything everywhere all at once, all these multiverses and different like versions and stuff, and it was too much for her brain to like handle and stuff. And so like she just doesn't feel nothing no more. Nothing has any meaning to her. And I think one of her favorite realities is that rock, where she's like, you can just be a rock and everything, you don't have to worry about being anything else. And and so, but then you see her change and turn around, be like, no, it was never about killing you and blah, blah, blah. And I think something about it was about her wanting to die, or both of them, or some crap like that. But then she still can't get over her anger and grief. And the mom is just kind of like, let me embrace you on both like worlds and everything. And both of them are kind of like pushing back and everything. And, I think Jobu just never truly had that loving experience from like a mother, and now she's getting it, and it's just like too much for her, and she's not really sure, if this is truly real or does it have any meaning and stuff. And I was not expecting that whatsoever. Like, cause you just go in this movie wondering what the heck is this about, and then they hit you with this big twist and everything. And so I really like thought that was so cool and stuff. And in both versions gonna try to be better. Well, actually, technically, no, Jobu doesn't have a mother no more, but you know what I mean. And so, like, and it's interesting because in the main reality we first saw, they're trying to work on their family and and this and that. And the mom is just being honest, like, look, man, I don't like your tattoo. Your girlfriend needs to grow her hair out and stuff, but I still love you and everything, and I accept you and all this other stuff. And that was such a great message. But oh no, this movie has diversity and like people of color and strong women and LGBT all in a message. I can't believe it. And then I think even some of the anti-woke people was liking this movie, I think, because they couldn't knock it because they had to admit that it was good. But I know some of them found the way, the pander to like their bigots and everything. But see, movies with people of color, strong women, and messaging is not bad as long as something is written well and acted well and stuff. This movie is so good, heck, I might just buy it on DVD and everything. Like, I wasn't even really expecting to do that. But it's such a good movie and stuff. And I just love how there's so much diversity in it. And see, this proves, like, wokeness is not bad. Diversity is not bad. DEI is not bad. It's just as good as everything else. You have to have a good writing team. You have to have a good director. You have to have good like acting and stuff. And that what makes a movie and stuff. That what makes it a hit. And that was so cool that Quay come out of like retirement. Cause I remember he had retired at one point. I think he's starting to act a little bit more. And as much as I like Jamie Lee Curtis, she's always like a really good actress. And she was pretty funny in this movie. And I do agree she should have been nominated for like, best supporting actress. However, I can't believe she won over Stephanie. That just blew my mind. I remember when I first saw that she won for best supporting actress, even before I saw the movie, I'm just kind of like, I wonder what she did to like win this award. And as I'm watching the movie, I mean, her role was just fine. It was nothing to shake a tail feather at. I would have given that award to Stephanie. But Jamie Lee Curtis is the legendary actress and everything. She is the slasher queen of like the 70s and 80s. So go figure. No shade really towards her because I do like her, but Stephanie was robbed. Happy Asian and Pacific Islander month, everybody. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.